To find the equation for a circle, we need to know two things. We need to know the center, and we need to know the radius. In the graphing form of the equation, the center is represented by the point HK, and the radius is R. So for example, let's say we knew we had a circle where the center was 1, -5, and we knew that the radius was 4. We could write the equation for this. It would be x minus h, which is -1, squared, plus y minus k, so that would be y plus 5, squared, equals r squared, which is 16. So here we have a circle where the center is 9, -1, and the radius is 6. So to write the graphing form equation, we have all the information we need. So we can write it as x minus h, so x minus 9 squared, plus y minus k, so y plus 1 squared, and that equals the radius squared, which is 36. So this is how we would go from into the graphing form of the equation. It's really easy when you have the center and the radius, not quite so easy when you have to find those two things. So now let's say we have a circle with a center of 2, 2, and this circle passes through the point 1, 6, or -1, 6. Let's think about what we know. We have h and k, and when we're given a point, we know an x and a y that go together. So we can go ahead and start the equation. The equation would be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals r squared. We don't know the radius right now. However, we do know an x and a y, and if we look at our equation, look, haha, there's a place for x, there's a place for y. So let's plug the values in that we know are true for this circle. Now we have -1 minus 2 squared plus 6 minus 2 squared. And we know that this is going to equal the square of the radius. So we have -3 squared plus 4 squared, and that equals r squared. So -3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16. So r squared equals 9 plus 16, so r squared equals 25. This means that the radius is 5. But what's kind of cool is that we don't need the radius to write the equation. We need the radius squared. So we have enough information to write our equation now. The equation would be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared, because we already knew the center, equals r squared, which is 25. Now we have a circle whose diameter can be represented by the points 3, -5 and 9, 7. Let's think about what this circle would look like. We know that 3, -5 would be one point on the diameter, and 9, 7 would be the other point on the diameter. But since the diameter goes across the circle, our circle would look something like that, but it would actually be a circle, sorry. Now, if we need to write the equation, we need to find the center and we need to find the radius. So if we look at our picture, it looks like the center is the midpoint of the diameter, and the radius would be the distance from the center to one of those 2 points. So let's go ahead and find the midpoint of the 2 points that we're given. The midpoint is just the middle of the x's and the middle of the y's. I like to find it by thinking about averages. If we're going to find the midpoint of 3 and 9, we can find the average of 3 and 9. So that would be 12 divided by 2. So that would be 6. So now we have half of our center. So to find the other half of the center, we need to find the middle of the y's. So that would be -5 plus 7 divided by 2, which would be 2 divided by 2, which would be 1. So now we have the center of our circle. We know that the center is going to be 6, 1. Now we need to find the radius, so we need to use the distance formula. We need to find the distance between this center and one of our 2 points. I'm going to choose 9, 7 because there are no negatives, and that way I am sure not to make any mistakes. The distance formula is something we've looked at in another project. The distance formula is the square root of the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y's squared. So the difference of the x's is going to be, let's start with the center, 6 minus 9. And the difference of the y's is going to be 1 minus 7. So our distance is going to be the square root of negative 3 squared plus negative 6 squared. So our distance is going to be the square root of 9 plus 36. So the distance is the square root of 45. Now, this is the distance between the center and that point on the circle, which is the radius. And we want the radius squared. So we need to square this amount before we can write our equation. So the square of the square root of 45 is 45. Now we can write our equation. We know the center, so we get x minus 6 squared plus y minus 1 squared. And that equals the distance between those 2 points squared, which is 45. So the equation for this circle would be x minus 6 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 45. Now let's look at this circle. This circle has a center of 3, 4, and it's tangent to the y-axis. We have the center, which is good. That helps us write our equation. But what does it mean to be tangent to the y-axis? I'm going to draw a picture. We know our center is at the point 3, 4. And if it's tangent to the y-axis, that means the radius makes a 90-degree angle with the y-axis, which is the vertical axis. So let's think about what that means. It means that this circle touches the y-axis there. So we secretly know the radius as well. We know where the center is, and we know that it's going to hit the y-axis at that point there, which means we just need to find this horizontal distance. If that's the point 3, 4, the distance is 3. That's the radius. So now we can write the equation. X minus h goes in the first term, so x minus 3 squared plus y minus k, y minus 4 squared equals r squared. Now we found r was 3, so r squared is 9. So just depending on what information you're given, you just need to use some of your techniques that you've learned through geometry concepts, through other algebra concepts, and help you find those 2 critical pieces of information, the center and the radius. Once you have those 2 things, you can write your graphing form for the equation of a circle.